Good morning,
Hey,
Women's Club. I'm here today live with Jen Hall, the Business Clarity Coach, and today we're going to be talking about pricing. Now, pricing is probably one of the most important decisions that you will make in your business. If you get this wrong, you could get the business wrong. If you price too low, you could put yourself out of business. If you price too high, you could put yourself out of the market. You've got to get your pricing just right. And you've got to get your pricing right in a way that you're comfortable, because you ultimately going to have to go out and charge this price. And so pricing is really, really, really important. And Jen has a lot of experience and a lot of, I'm guessing, mistakes and successes, as we all do. And so we're going to be chatting to Jen today about her experience with pricing and her wisdom and her advice on this subject. So hi, Jen.
hey, thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, it's nice to see you here. So let's kick off with a really basic question. How do we start? Where do we start? We've got a business, we've got a product or service. Now what?
Okay, well, this is a can of worms, I guess, and it may go against perhaps some of the other advice out there. Is my sound okay? I've got some feedback.
You've got some feedback, yeah.
Yeah, as in I've got feedback, audio feedback. Is my sound okay? Hang on, let me turn my sound down, see if that makes a difference. There we go. That's better. There we are. Yeah. So when it comes to pricing, it's one of those things that it doesn't matter what we think about what you should be pricing your services or your products at. It matters about, exactly as you said a second ago, about how good you feel about your pricing. Because if you don't feel good about what you're charging, like exactly as you just said a second ago, you're going to be second guessing what you're saying. You're going to be coming across completely unconfident in what you're doing. And equally, if you undercharge, you will also feel like, and this is really horrid to say, but you want to cut corners for your clients, that you will only give them a certain amount because that's all they've paid for. And it's human to feel like that, and it's natural to feel like that, because money, as I know you've spoken to Fanny a few weeks ago, Fanny Snaith, I know that she talks about this a lot in terms of the energy that's held within money and our relationship with money. And so if we don't charge enough, we will start feeling resentment towards our clients. And from a client perspective, that's bad, right? That's not a good feeling.
Absolutely. And also, I find that in the beginning, when you're starting out in your business and you're not confident in your pricing, you tend to promise the world. And you either can't deliver it or you resent because you have so much work to do, and then you look at how much you're getting paid for it and you think, well, that wasn't really worth it at the end of the day. And so many of us start out in that place of really, really wanting to win the client and over-promising and then under-delivering. And so one of my favorite things to say is to under-promise and over-deliver. That way you've always got happy clients.
Oh, I totally agree with you, Andrew. I think that's really, really, really important that we do over-deliver on what we say we're going to do, because not only does it make the customer feel good, it makes us feel good as well. Like we, particularly as women, we love to nurture, we love to give and give and give. And so having that feeling of, I've just given that little bit extra, it makes us all feel really good. And it's a really nice, really, really nice relationship to be in. It's really funny. I was speaking, when I went on holiday to Greece a couple of weeks ago, I was speaking to one of the Greek boat hire people, and he was getting us to sign the contract. So basically say, don't smash our boat, like please be good with it. And so he was saying to sign it, and he was like, one of the things I always say is you do a good deal, you make amazing friends. And it's so true. And your clients are the people who, inevitably they do become kind of, you do have that kind of friendly relationship, and it's lovely when it gets to that stage. But if you don't keep those transparent boundaries in place about what you're going to be offering, what you both agree to be the thing, like even to the point of support. When I have something called Voxer for my clients, so during in between our calls, they can contact me. But in the contract outlined exactly when they can expect a response from me, so that they know what's going to be delivered, so that when it comes to looking at what they're getting for what they're paying for, they feel confident and comfortable, because they know everything's above board, everything's transparent, they know what they're getting. And so when you do give that little bit of extra thing, when I do respond randomly, which I don't normally do, perhaps on a Sunday night, they know not to expect that, but they think, oh, that's really cool that she's responded quicker than I expected. And again, it feels like you're over delivering or giving that little bit extra. I totally agree with you on that one. But in terms of where to start, it always has to start with, I call like a visualization. So what we tend to do is we start from the point of what we think people will pay, instead of what is the thing that I have worth. And that's the difference we have to do when we first start out with new businesses. And this is the mistakes that I've made, and I'm sure that you've made and many other people have, is we basically just come across as, please will you be my client, or please will you be my staff, instead of, I've got something really great here that could help you, and this could be a mutually beneficial thing. Let's see if we're a good fit. We don't come from that confident angle. We come from that fear factor, which is when we start pricing based upon our competitors, pricing based upon the other people's benchmarks, and we think they're great, they're selling that, I don't think I'm as great as that person, therefore I'm going to charge lower. And this is the thing, the pricing is so connected to our self-worth, particularly as service providers, I think.
I think I experienced one which was a real eye-opener to me, and it helped me not fall into the same trap. But I was talking to a service provider whose service I wanted to use, and at the end of the conversation, it got to the price, and before I had even had an opportunity to respond, I was offered a discount. And I thought, that's very interesting, because I would have paid full price. It's very interesting because I didn't ask for a discount. In fact, I didn't need a discount. And I think that's one of the traps. Even once we've set our price, then we need to stick to it. We need to be confident that that's the right price. And I'm going to ask a double whammy here. This is going to be like a double question. But another thing that I've come across and done myself is you try to be friendly. You try to be nice to people. You try to be, I can help. My business can help you. And then there's that horrible line of almost horror when people are like, well, now you want to charge me that price. And I like what you said about in your contract, it's upfront. Yeah. So I guess the questions may not be connected, but I just didn't want to forget either one of the points. But the first one really is about discounts. Do we give them at all? If so, when and why? And don't discount like by default because you're desperate for that business. And then, the boundaries between being friendly, but you're not best friends. This is still a business transaction. And so how do we deal with those sorts of things?
Well, absolutely. And I think this is the thing that, I used to, but I don't anymore. I don't offer any kind of friend discounts anymore, even to original friends, people that were. I just don't do it because I know that otherwise everything just gets blurred and a bit icky and that's in my business. That's the way I put my boundaries out there. Only through learning, only through doing that in the past, and then clients then becoming friends, and then feeling, well, now they're out of the usual client zone into the friend zone, so that means they get a discount. Like, in my head, that just doesn't work. It's worth what it's worth. And when it comes to discounts, I totally think that particularly the service-based businesses, discounts just don't do it. This is my perspective. I think if you discount on a regular basis, people will always be waiting for you to discount. It's like Groupon. Like, if you look at business models like that, you find that the clients that come through Groupon will just surf from deal to deal to deal. They're not particularly loyal. They're there because they want cheap. And you don't want people to come to you because they know, and they're going to hang out and fold their arms, and they think, okay, well, Black Friday's coming up. She's blatantly going to be doing a deal. Now, what I do, and this is something that my sales coach taught me to do, and that's to create something completely brand new. So instead of offering a discount off a service that you originally have, why not offer something completely new at a lower price that still respects the service level support that you're providing, so that you're not then, because this is the other thing as well, is it's going to pee off your current clients if you're going to be offering this really high-end thing that they've just paid 2 weeks ago, £3,000, £4,000 for, and then next week you're offering it for 2,000. Well, sorry, you're an action taker, and last week you invested this huge amount of money, and well done you, because you took action, you believed in yourself, you believed in me, and thank you very much. But next week I'm going to offer it to someone else for half the price. Like, how awful does that make the client feel? That's just not nice.
I never really understood that until I experienced it. Because in the early days of Women's Business Club, obviously, I just wanted to get bums and seats. So closer to the day, we'd say, oh, and it's half price, just to get bums and seats, as you do when you don't know what you're doing. But then one day, I bought into this charity event, and I paid full price for this massive maximum package because I wanted to support them. And then closer to the event, they slashed the price down to a fraction of the price. Thankfully, it was a charity event, so I was like, okay, it's for charity, but it still didn't feel nice. And I'll never forget how that made me feel. And I made a conscious decision. I'm never going to make anyone else feel that way. And so now, if anything, we'll put the prices up closer to the event because they become more valuable,
Exactly.
But you have to sometimes experience things, don't you, for yourself. You're like, oh, that didn't feel nice. Yeah. And then you kind of learn from that way as well. Hopefully, viewers will learn from everything we're chatting about and then all the same mistakes.
No, exactly. The other thing to remember is that it's really expensive to get clients on board. Like whether you're paying for an ad, whether you are investing a ton of time into networking, whatever it is, it's expensive getting leads. So the last thing you want to do is bring people through the door, annoy them, make them feel bad, lose them, and then have to pay for more new clients. Like the lifetime value of somebody is huge.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. So going back to where to get started, because we kind of went off on a tangent.
Sorry.
No, there's just so much to talk about. But I think most people's initial sorry, I've got feedback. I'm just going to play around here. Most people, their first thing to do is to look at what their competitors are doing. It's like, okay, what do I charge? You don't know where to start. You don't want to just suck a number out of the air. So you the competitors. Should we be doing that? Is that a good starting place?
No, this is the thing is that it's one of the worst places you can start, because as I said before, the how much you charge is so connected to your self-worth that if you start charging based on competitors, you're doing this like for like comparison, which is a total load of rubbish. Like, you are not a like-for-like comparison to anybody. And again, I'm keeping particularly in service-based providers. And just very quickly going back, sorry, just to make another point, because you mentioned about wanting to talk about products here as well, is that I think discounting on products or self-studies, particularly digital products, is totally cool, because there's not any more of you left, put into there. But again, it's still bearing in mind your current client base, how much have they paid for it, what feels good to you and what feels good to your clients that you want to do. But I think when it comes to discounting on those kinds of things, people will still respect that, those discounts and putting that value on something. This is why, when people pay a discounted rate, they think like, great, I've got a bargain, but actually that's the value I now perceive that to be. And people perceive you as that price then, and they won't be willing to pay anything necessarily more. So that's, sorry, I just wanted to go back to that point. But moving back to competitors, you cannot do a like-for-like comparison, just like you can't do a like-for-like comparison on a self-study product and a live coaching product. Put it that way. Like, they are two very different things. You're getting two very different, support levels in both of those things. And so when you go out to a competitor and you think, well, again, you start looking at yourself versus them. Where do I see them versus me? Should I be charging lower because they're great? And you don't know. They could be, they in your eyes, they're amazing. In your eyes, what they're offering is awesome, but they might not be seeing that. And so they might be undercharging for what they should be charging for. And then it goes back to that same thing we spoke about at the very beginning. Then you start feeling that ickiness when you're halfway through the program or halfway through delivering the service. And you're like, wow, I feel like I'm giving my blood, sweat and tears to this person. And I haven't charged them enough. And now it's going to be a bad relationship moving forward. Like, rather charge them the right amount than have that relationship turn sour because you didn't have the balls to charge enough in the first place.
I remember once you mentioned something about a house in Chelsea. Tell us about that.
Oh my goodness, I'm trying to remember that. The story that you just reminded me. Can you remind me? Because I can't remember this.
Well, I just remember the bottom line, but it was if you were offered a house in Chelsea for £60,000 or something like that, does that trigger it?
It's triggering it slightly. I'd still keep going there because I don't want to
money because you know it's a good investment. I think that's basically what you said. If you were offered a house in Chelsea for £60,000, you would find the money because you know it's good.
Thank you. Yes, there we go. That was it. Because that was the moral of the story, is that people will find the money from somewhere. People will, if they really want it, if they see the value and transformation in what you have to offer. It's not about can you afford it? It's about where will they find the money? You know, I've got, when we all have them, family members who have perhaps said, well, we can't afford it. But then you're like, well, hang on a minute. How have you afforded X, Y, and Z? Like, it's about priorities. What do people value? What are you going to pay for? What do you choose to find the money for? And what do you choose to put at the bottom of the pile? And the question you have to ask yourself is, have I done my job to fully explain that value and transformation? And if you know that you haven't, then you know that you have some responsibility there as to why someone's walked away from your product. But the next part to all of this is going, who is my ideal client? And what do they value? And if they walk away, are they my ideal client? Have I let my ideal client walk away? Should they have valued what I've just offered them? If so, then I need to go back and look at my sales process and how I demonstrate that value and transformation. And if they weren't your ideal client, then that's totally cool, because not everybody is meant for your product or service. It's just not the case.
And that's exactly what I was going to pick up on. You know, it's actually better to say goodbye to some business, because in my experience, trying to win everyone and trying to help everyone, actually, I've done more damage than good for myself, because I've given everything, but they weren't my ideal clients. So it didn't have the value for them that it should have had. And it cost me a lot of time and effort to try and help them when they just weren't the right fit. And so I've learned now that be very firm with my price point, because if people can see the value and they're willing to pay the price, whatever that might be, they're going to do the work. They're going to value what I have to offer because they've invested their money in. Whereas if I say did mentoring or did a course or something and I discounted it to a ridiculously low price, they don't get anything from it. I've actually done them a disservice, because but like I remember once I found the money to go for with this one person. I found it. It was that, you know, like it was like the Chelsea house analogy. It was like, okay, I need this, but because I spent so much on it, I got everything I could out of it. And if I got that for free, I wonder if I would have been so determined to get everything out of it. Yeah, and so kind of our pricing. It kind of makes people more hungry for it, because I was like, right, I've spent the money. I want every penny that I've spent out of this. And so we're doing people a disservice, aren't we?
Sorry, I'm sitting in the background just going crazy here. I'm like, yes, Angela, yes. It just reminds me of a quote from Russell Brunson said, people who pay attention. And it always reminds me of that. And it's true. The amount of people, like I supply a lot of free value in my community, a ton of free training. And this isn't being disrespectful to anybody. It's just human nature and the way it is. So I'll have people consume my free stuff for a very long period of time. They'll then decide to invest in my services, which is fabulous. But they've received some pretty damn decent stuff beforehand. But as soon as they pay, the progress that they suddenly make is phenomenal, because like you said, they're invested into the process. Whereas before it's like, it's really interesting, but I'll take that and drop it when I feel like it because I'm not really invested into it. You are totally right. And just going back to that result, this is what we should be charging for. A lot of people charge for time, and we need to just start moving away from doing that, because it's a trap. The time is the most precious thing you own, and when you start charging for it, you're disrespecting that relationship with time, and your clients are looking at their watch like, okay, so how much value have I got out of this hour? If I haven't got what I wanted within this hour, then do I really want to continue paying for this time? And instead of saying, okay, so this is what I can promise you're going to get, this is how long it takes, so that you can both chill out around the process of going, must get them the result as quickly as possible because I know that they're not going to be wanting to keep spending. And it's just, again, another awkward relationship to be in.
Yeah, it makes sense. And so something that you said was why charging more and doing less for your clients actually helps your clients and your business. And I'm quite curious to hear your thoughts on that.
Well, charging more, especially if you don't have a large audience. And I know we've spoken about this before, and I genuinely do believe in this process, that when people start trying to sell low ticket items or low ticket services, packages, whatever you want to call it, to a very small audience, you only have a small pool of people. So if you think about it, there's going to be a finite amount of money that you can earn from that small pool of people. And it takes as much energy to sell something at £20, £200, £2,000. It really doesn't make any difference the amount of effort that you have to put into it. All that happens is that at the £2,000 mark, you get a more serious buyer than you did at the £20. But you still have to do the same amount of, so say, convincing effort into the sales process, right? And so this is the problem, is that we spend a lot of effort, time and energy running around like a headless chicken, trying to sell low ticket, not earning very much money. And it's a huge struggle, and it's an emotional roller coaster. Whereas if we were to go, okay, fine, let's actually slim it down. Let's go for, say, one client at the higher end price. It means that we can then focus our energy into doing that, but it will take less time because we're not having to sell so many. We can focus more time on that client because we're not running around like a headless chicken trying to sell and serve and to so many different people. We can actually devote a lot of time and energy and value and transformation into helping that particular person. And it also releases your time to be strategic in your business. So I remember at the Maximize conference, you ran a talk on, like, are you running to the well or is it the pipeline?
Yeah.
And otherwise, you are just constantly running to that well. You need to have strategic time in your business in order to grow it. So for your client's sake and your sake, otherwise you're just in another job. You've just created another job for yourself.
And it's easy to get to that place. I don't know if everybody does, but many people get to the point where the business has a measure of success, and then you do start, all you're doing is selling and delivering, and you can even lose the enjoyment of the delivery because you've just got all of this going on, and you can't give the quality that you used to give. And so again, maybe that's the time to put the prices up.
Yeah,
so you can then narrow it down and get more quality, and then deliver more quality, because you're not in that endless cycle of I have to sell, I have to deliver. And that comes with success. And a lot of people talk about how to start a business, how to deal with failure, but not many people talk about how to deal with success. And success has some pain, growth pains, and some, ceilings that you have to get through, or barriers, or whatever you want to call it. And again, pricing can help with those times as well. I've certainly found that when you hit that wall, it's like, right, let's look at the pricing now. And it makes a huge difference to a business, getting the pricing right. But also,
go on.
Carry on.
No, I was just going to say, because we're exactly on your point there, we're growing all the time, particularly as service-based businesses and consultants, experts, coaches. We are growing as those people, and so there will, like, whatever your prices are now, they're always going to rise. And this is the thing, you have to, whatever you decide to price it at now, know that you will be raising them in the future. Otherwise you end up with this gap, and because as you say, you feel that tug of, oh, actually I've evolved, I've grown, I'm providing a lot more than I used to. actually now I think this needs to change. I absolutely agree with you. Things do need to rise.
And our personal value grows if we are in a business. I don't know how this applies to all businesses, but certainly if you're giving of your expertise and you've invested in becoming an expert, your value is going to grow. Your price has to go up because now you're not just somebody that's done a 6-month course and knows a few things. You now have a wealth of experience and your value goes up and the demand on your time goes up, and so your prices have to go up.
I think it applies to particularly all service-based businesses. If you look at my other half, Andy, who runs a company called Evertrek, so he basically helps take, he provides a platform to take people up to Everest Base Camp, basically. Sometimes he takes a group, sometimes he has other people taking them. And I think it was last year, he doubled his pricing. He was so scared. He came in and made the mistake of pricing himself under all of the other competitors, pricing himself underneath them, because he felt like I shouldn't be charging any more than them, and I'll scoop. He did, and he admitted it. I'll secretly scoop up all the other people who look at them and think they're too expensive. They'll come to me. What he found when he finally looked at it and thought, okay, hold on a minute, I'm providing a huge customer service experience here. Even though he's basically an online business and people could just go in and just book online, he's also got this incredible knowledge center that he provides to people. They can go and get tips on high altitude trekking and all these other things. Like, actually, I'm providing a lot for very little money. What am I doing? And he had that moment of realization. The moment he doubled his prices was the moment he got double the amount of people coming through the door.
Wow,
and
that's incredible.
He was flabbergasted. He was like, how is this possible that I have doubled my prices and I now have more people coming through? And do you know why? Because his business, sorry, I'm getting so passionate about this, because people think, oh, I'll charge cheaper and I'll get the people through the door. But what happens is people look at him and go, I say him, his business, and go, okay, all of these other people are charging this amount. He's not. I'm suspicious. What am I not getting? What is being missed out? And at the end of the day, these people are going on dangerous treks at high altitude. There are a lot of moving parts. There are a lot of connecting flights. There are a lot of places they've got to stay. There's a lot of things they need to take into account. They want to make sure that they feel looked after. That's what you're buying. I remember FedEx famously says, the moment we realized we were charging for peace of mind versus moving a product from one place to the other was the moment our business took off. And this is what Andy had to realize, is he's selling trust. And if you're selling trust, people don't want to buy that cheap, because cheap trust, not good. And so it's just getting our head around how people perceive what we've got to give.
Yeah. And again, we're going to have to wrap it up. There's so much to talk about. We need to do this again. But, again, it's perceived value, isn't it? If you're going to look at two things and they're priced very differently, you're going to assume that the more expensive thing is better quality, is higher value. That's just how we think. And so we a great disservice to ourselves and to our potential clients by undercharging, because they're not going to come to us. We could be the best at what we do, but our price has to reflect that. And so let's leave everyone today with a challenge about considering their pricing, putting questions into the comment box, and then we will pick this up on another Money Monday, and hopefully we'll address some of the questions and concerns. But I'm hoping that every single person watching today will seriously go away and consider their pricing. Is your pricing right for your business? After everything that we've chatted about today, I'm hoping to see some significant changes in businesses. So what would your top tip be to leave us with today, Jen?
I'll try and condense it as much as possible. I was desperate to get to it. I've got a 4-step pricing process I'd love to leave with people when it comes to pricing their services. Okay, so it's kind of a bit of an equation. So the first thing you need to be thinking about is, what is the result that I'm getting for my clients? So that's the first thing you need to think about. You really understand that, and that means also looking at the return on investment of that result. So they go, okay, so this is the result I'm giving my clients. This is a return. So this is the impact that this result has on them. Okay, so think about things like their finances, their mindset, their relationships, all of the impact that this result will then have on the rest of their lives as well. So really taking that into account, understanding what you're giving. So that's the first thing. The second thing you need to be doing is looking at, I call it your energy expended. Now this is where we do have to take into account time, because you, at the end of the day, you are expending a lot of energy and you're providing the support that you're providing. So you have to write down all of that. How much time are you giving? How much support are you providing? How much prep do you need to be doing? How much follow-up are you doing? Write all of that down. And then actually physically visualize the process to really feel into how much energy you're giving to that person as much as possible, particularly when it's a new service. Sometimes we can find it hard, but literally close your eyes and take yourself from the moment they sign that contract to the end of when you shake hands and go, oh my God, congratulations, you've got this result. What has had to happen in that process? Really visualize it. So that's the second step, energy expended. Okay, and the third thing you need to be taking into account is your, I say it's a 4-step process, sorry. So results, return on investment, energy expended. Sorry, fourth thing is your experience and qualifications. So it's your, like, I call it like your awesomeness. So how many years have you had to perhaps train to do what it is you do? How many qualifications have you had to get? If you don't have any qualifications, don't think that as a bad thing. What experience have you had to go through? What hell and back have you had to go through to now have the experience that you now do? Now take all of that into account, put a price down. Once you put your price down, really feel into that and think about how that feels inside of your body. How does that actually feel? Does it feel good? Does it not? And test yourself. Keep raising it to the point where you get to that point of, no, that feels comfortable. It's on the edge of scary, because anything new that we decide to charge for will always feel uncomfortable. If one day we're charging that amount and the next day we decide to double it, doesn't matter how good we feel about that price, it's always going to have that, oh my God, I'm now charging this thing. So understand that it will feel uncomfortable. You just have to accept that, but just challenge yourself and see how far you can push it before you get to that sweet spot of, yes, that feels good. And because you've taken into account everything and you're not comparing against anybody else, you're just basing it upon yourself. You have to feel good. If you don't feel good, you won't be able to do it. And just know whatever that amount is right now, particularly as service-based businesses, you will be raising your prices in the future. Hope that's helpful to everybody.
That's fantastic. That's a great, strong finish there, and lots of food for thought and lots for us to work on. So thank you so much for your time today, Jen. And we will keep checking in with the comments. We get a lot of people watching on replay, and we'd just love to hear from you all. So have a great Money Monday, everyone. Bye.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Angela. Take care.